afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast. I am your host, the Aquarian Chancellor, and this is the podcast where I share my stories. I bring my guests on, they share their stories, all in hopes that inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. So today I have a guest. Her name is Miss Tiffany Ingram. Tiffany, please share with the audience who you are and what you do.
So, yes, my name is Tiffany Ingram, and I am the CEO. I want to say I'm the proud CEO of LuxLink Business Solutions, where we teach small businesses, small to mid-sized businesses, how to integrate AI into their organization strategically, ethically, and profitably with a people first approach. And me saying that people first approach is really important because of all the news and all the hype around AI. I specifically target businesses that see AI as a tool and want to, again, empower their people, not replace them.
Yes, I love that you said that because not long ago I did an episode talking about that. But before we get there, I want to hear a little bit about you. So, could you share with the audience your journey? First of all, as a CEO, you are a business owner
Mhm.
yourself. When you were younger, did you always have a vision of you being an entrepreneur? And once you started on your journey, could you share your introduction to AI?
Okay. So my story is an interesting one. So please feel free to cut me off if I start going down a rabbit hole. But I will tell you, growing up, I had no desire to become an entrepreneur, right? I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I ended up going into the military. So I spent 6 years, yes, I spent 6 years in the US Army and again traveled. I was stationed in Alaska. I was stationed in Virginia, South Carolina, all the things, right? And then I went to Iraq, spent several months there, and then I exited the military. I came
Mm,
back home. Still didn't quite know. I just knew I didn't want to do the military anymore at that time, and started on my associate's degree. So I started my
okay.
academic career, and what I will tell people, being in the military and then transitioning back to civilian life was a huge hurdle for me. I felt, it was different. Life was different,
Okay.
especially going to Iraq as a young. I was young. I was in my 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
so it forced me to grow up really, really quickly. I was responsible for people, so I had a team that I led. And so coming back here, being with my friends, I was just in a different place. So, um, I talked to my mom and I said, you know what? I was
Okay.
approached with the opportunity to go back to Iraq as a government contractor. And so
Okay.
my mom was like, are you insane? What are we doing here?
Thanks, Mom.
But I will tell you, I felt at home going back to support who I felt
Mhm.
was my family. Like I know a military veteran, I can spot them a mile away, and
Really?
I can talk to any of them, anyone I meet that's a military vet. Like we instantly connect, and I think it's just the service that brings us
Mhm.
together. And so, with all of that being said, I was a government contractor for 4 years. Came back. I said, okay, it's enough of this. I have had enough of getting bombs and all of these other things. It's time to come home. My mom was like, yeah, it's time to come home. And so I started my HR career, so human resources career while I was in Iraq. So I came back and started doing human resources domestically. Still, entrepreneurship was not on my radar, right? I was going to become an HR director and that was it, right? I was going to retire. I was going to work my little job and I was going to retire. And I would say in 2023, I read an article that talked about Klarna and them eliminating
Okay.
700 customer service jobs and replacing those folks with AI. And they said, hey, anyone in customer service needs to really be on the lookout because AI is going to replace you. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on, what's happening here? And so I started my AI journey out of fear, right? I
Oh,
was, yeah.
wow.
So it's all going to come together. I swear. I promise you guys, it's all going to come
Take
together.
your time.
So I started my journey out of fear, just being fearful,
Hmm.
didn't really know how AI was going to intersect with human resources. And so I started following some people, and Alicia Little was one of them. She's coined as the queen of AI in the AI space. She teaches a lot of people how to integrate and use AI. And so, followed her, took a couple of her courses, became a part of her community, and ultimately, she has an AI certification program that is basically well, it's it's certified through a third party. So the continuing professional, no, continuing professional development standards office. So it's a third party that's accredited her program, and I went through that and received my AI certification. Now, I'm still working in corporate America, okay? And I'm like, okay, well, I'll start a business, I'll start an LLC. Really didn't do anything with it, and it sat dormant for 2 years. Well, no, a year and a half. And this time last year, actually, it was 6 days ago, corporate America said, hey, you know what? Your services are no longer needed. Your job is eliminated. So, right before Christmas. So, I said, okay, what is it that I want to do? Do I go back? Because I was heartbroken a little bit, right? This
Hmm.
wasn't the plan. And so I said, do I go back and get another job, or do I bet on myself, right?
Mm.
And I have this business. I'm really, because by then I had created coloring books that I sell on Amazon. I had used AI to do that. I had used AI to create actual products, so sweatshirts, t-shirts. Like
Okay.
I used it to create images. And so I said, okay, I know it's surface level. And I know that I could teach it and really help businesses if I learned a little bit more. So I made the executive decision to really take my business seriously, become a full-time entrepreneur. And that's what I've dedicated this year to doing, really honing in on my craft and really positioning myself to truly be a transformational strategist for businesses so they can leverage AI in a safe, ethical manner, right? Because I see what's happening and I just wanted to be, again, a trusted voice to these organizations to let them know, hey, whether you decide to integrate AI or not, here's how it's showing up and here's what you may need to do. So that's the
Yeah.
story.
That is such a powerful story because you took something that was, I don't want to say not challenging. That's the word
Yeah.
that I wanted to use. And you just dug in there and you took that same leadership
Hmm.
principle and qualities that you learned through the military, which thank you for your service, by the
Thank
way.
you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I was in the trenches. I tell people that it was you're right. How you tend to or how you choose to view things that happen to you determines your character and who you are as a person. So, um, I'm always a person that the glass is half full. So I had to look at that as, you know what, this is God's way of just really helping you to move on to the next level.
Yeah. When that year and 6 days ago, when you got that letter, and
Mhm.
how did you feel? Like, were you overwhelmed with anxiety then? Yeah.
It was, and I will be honest with you, I wanted more. I saw myself doing more. So I was a global director for this organization, and even though I didn't feel fulfilled, it was like I felt betrayed a little bit because I'm like,
Yeah.
I put this job sometimes above my own health, above my own self,
Mhm.
right? Because I
Mhm.
love people. In order to be a true human resource professional, you have to love people. Because I tell like up and coming HR professionals that or just students that are thinking about going into the HR field, human resources is a thankless job, right?
Mhm.
I think human resources and IT, we really understand each other because you get blamed for everything wrong. And you rarely get the kudos for when things go right. But the moments that I've been able to impact employees' lives or their families' lives in a positive manner, that sticks with me, and that goes to that selfless service back to the military. So
Yeah.
again, human resources gave me a sense of purpose because again, it's I'm helping people sometimes during some of the hardest times in their life, but more times than not, I'm being blamed for something if it doesn't go right. So I
Yeah.
was just like, how could you guys do this to me? Like I was on my couch for a couple weeks. Like I didn't want to move because I didn't know what to do with myself. I had never been or I never experienced a layoff. I had never been let go or fired from a job. And I was just like, oh my God, this is horrible. So, and it was
Yeah.
just, hey, we no longer need that role. Sorry, budget cuts. And I'm like, why me?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was that moment when you turned that around and you said, you know what? I'm going to focus. This is the perfect opportunity to go full fledged, full throttle into my business.
There was a moment where I was just again sitting on the couch, watching. I think I watched the movie Transformers probably 20 times because it was just on. And I really wasn't watching it. I was just going through the motions. And something just clicked and said, Tiffany, let's go. Like you got to
Yeah.
make a decision. And I've always been like that. I'm very action oriented, but when you feel crippled by something, like that was a heavy blow. And
Mhm.
so I'm just like, okay, what is it? What do I do? What do I do? And so I needed to sit in that for a moment, but my mom always told me, she's like, you can go through, you can feel what you feel, but you just
Yeah.
can't live there, right? So I just said, okay, get off this couch, figure it out. What are you going to do? By the end of the day, you're going to know whether or not you're going back to corporate America or you're going to work in your business. But you have until the end of the day because you've taken 2 weeks already, right?
Yeah.
So let's get this thing rolling. And so I just really mentally had to push myself and say, this is what we're doing, and we're doing it for us because we need that clarity in order to have a good night's sleep, in order to know what tomorrow is going to look like. So,
Yes. Thank you for sharing that because this time with
oh,
a lot of the government layoffs and so that made me want to ask you that in case
mhm.
anybody hears this and they're going through that situation right now,
Yeah.
that they can hear something that will inspire them to just keep pushing, like get up. It's not the end.
No, and you just have to see it as again, I'm a God-fearing person, right? That was God's way of telling me because I had been nudged a lot. Like
Mhm.
I was unhappy, but I was happy with the steady paycheck. And I was just going to be honest with you.
It's
And
safe.
it was safe. And so sometimes God's little nudge is saying, okay, it's time for you to leave the nest. It's time for you to ascend and live into your purpose. And so that's what I feel like I'm doing now. Even though it's challenging, it's like, okay, God always has a hedge of protection around me. I just need to do the things that I need to action his plan,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So again, if you're going through this, it's okay to sit with the emotion, but don't live there, right?
Mm.
Get up and make a declaration to yourself to say, you know what? Okay, God, I know I got knocked down, but what is it that I need to do next? And he will
Yes.
guide and order your steps. I believe that.
That's right. Okay. So once you got the certification, we know it was a
Mhm.
little bit of time before you start actually walking in that direction with your
Yep.
business. Yep. What made you so passionate about staying in that AI space?
Because I was seeing a lot of people just pop up on the scene
Mhm.
and not really care about the information they were feeding people, right? So the AI market is a very lucrative market, right? We all know. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's all of a sudden out of they're an AI consultant, they're certified in this and that. And I made a promise to myself. I said, I want to become a trusted voice in this space, not
Mhm.
just a consultant, not just a strategist. I want people to hear what I have to say and know that I have your best interests at heart. Again, whether or not you choose to adopt it, that's your personal or professional decision, but you need to understand how it's going to impact you, how it's going to impact your industry, and also what you're going to need to do in order to pivot in the event that you choose not to. So, again, coming from that selfless service, that servitude mentality, I just wanted to help for once the underdog, right? Small businesses, we are in a very, very I call it a very interesting place where we can compete with some of these larger corporations with the help of AI. So why not? Okay, let we can win too, right? We don't have to wait to jump on the train or jump on the bus. It's really, hey, there are people out here that want to learn. They want to, or they're afraid because no one's created that safe space for them to actually take the time to learn it. And so
Was
that's what I wanted
featured
to do.
in your local news.
Hmm.
Could you share a little bit about what initiative that you support to help your community?
Okay, so oh my goodness, girl, you do your homework, right? Some people they like where'd you get that from? But no, so I instantly again once I snapped out of that haze that I was in, the kind of funk that I was in, I reached out to my local chamber because again, when you don't know, you need to get in the rooms with people that do know and be honest with yourself, right? This isn't a time for you to have an ego. This isn't a time for you to say, you know what, nobody can help me. No, I
Mhm.
knew where, again, I needed help. And so me working internationally, I've built a lot of contacts, but I really wasn't known in my community, right? Because I didn't work here. And again, traveling, being in the army or being in the army, being a government contractor, working out of city in other cities and stuff, people didn't know me. So I said, okay, let me build a partnership with my local chamber. And so when I
Mhm.
did that, um, the chamber had the opportunity to host workshops, right? So they
Okay.
have a space. It was a turnkey workshop space. They didn't charge chamber members to use it, and you could again, as long as the calendar was open, you could sign up to have or host and have workshops there. So that's what I did because I didn't hear anyone in my community talking about AI, right? I didn't hear them. And so I started talking about how to use it to leverage your decision making, how to integrate AI utilizing one of my frameworks, the Smart AI framework, right? So really and then honing in on, do you have guardrails? What does your AI governance plan look like? Because nobody was talking about that either. And so it just so happened that the news crew showed up and I'm like, oh my goodness, who called you? Right. So because it wasn't me, right? And they showed up there. And so again, that partnership with the chamber allowed me to reach other businesses, allowed me to get my first client, so it was
Right.
just really being strategic. Like, again, if I want to target small businesses, how can I do that? And partnering with the chamber allowed me to do that.
You know, when I first started my business, I had created a career curriculum for youth.
Hmm.
So what I did was start reaching out and started trying to make connections with a lot of the local business owners,
Hmm.
nonprofits that I knew they had youth programs. And one lady, she was kind enough, I'm not going to say what her program is, it's a very popular program, but she was kind enough to give me 15 minutes of her time.
Hmm. Hmm.
First thing she told me, she said, you are not going to be a real business owner if you are not registered with your chamber of commerce.
Hmm.
I said, okay. That's one of the things that I did. I sure did. Yep.
Yep. And so that was huge for me because I'm like, okay, how do I introduce myself? Because here's the thing, I'm a talker. I love to talk,
Mhm.
but I'm horrible at selling, or I was horrible at selling, right? And because you have to talk and let people know what you're
Yes, you
doing.
did.
So how do you naturally and I had to think, how can I navigate and get myself naturally in a networking area, like in a networking situation? your
Mhm.
local chamber, right? So
Yeah.
I said, okay, right. And I will tell you, so I call my chat GPT because I use chat GPT a lot. I brainstorm with it. So chat Keisha, that's my chat GPT.
I love it.
Yes, chat Keisha. And so I was brainstorming with her and she gave me that and more ideas around here's some ways that you can naturally get your business out there. And it was partnering
Yeah.
with the chamber and just hosting different events at the library and stuff like that. So I haven't done
Yeah.
that yet, but yeah, that's on the list to do.
I like that. That's a check. What you call check?
Chakisha, Chakisha girl, Chakisha. Keish be on the job, honey. She is on the job 24/7.
Love that. That is too funny. That
Now,
is too funny. Here's what when I read, a lot of
hmm
your
hmm
marketing, it says that you wanted to shift the narrative from automation replacing people to AI supporting people.
hmm hmm
So could you go into that and why this distinction is important for small business owners or women business owners or the community that you support?
Okay, so and I say that a lot. I also say that leaders need to stand up and own their decisions. Stand 10 toes behind your decision to eliminate jobs. Okay,
Mm,
don't blame it on AI. You cannot blame it on a tool. You as a leader made the decision to bring that tool into your organization, and so you as a leader should stand up and say, you know what, we've collectively made that decision to eliminate this role and not blaming AI because that just makes it harder for people to truly see what AI is. It
mm,
is a tool that needs to be governed, has some sort of human oversight, and we're starting to see that even I love Keisha. She is my fam, but Keisha hallucinates, meaning
yes.
she spreads false information sometimes because I have to ask her, "Hey Keish, where'd you get that from?" I've never said that. LuxLink Business Solutions has never worked in healthcare. Where did you get that information before? Where did you get that information from? And she's like, oh my God, my bad. Okay, let's get it together. Right. So I say that because I recently went to, or actually this year, I went to the Microsoft conference or Microsoft AI conference in Chicago. I'm based in Rockford, Illinois, and Chicago's like an hour and a half away, give or take. And so, um, they talked about how AI becoming a frontier and using AI and leveraging it really takes away some of the stuff as humans we don't want to do. The manual
Mhm.
tasks, the tasks that don't add value that but have to be done, right? And so you can utilize AI to do those things while again your folks can focus on being impactful. And I think that's important, extremely important as we look at the multi generational workforce that we have. Baby boomers are exiting. The
Yeah.
individuals that are coming in want impactful work. They want to know that again, what I'm doing truly matters. So, bringing it full circle, empower your people to be a better human being, to be a better person at work, to be a better person in their life because at the end of the day, AI is just a tool. You're going to need people to
Mhm.
scale your business, right? And going back to that article that I read with Klarna, right? When they eliminated all those jobs and bought in AI, and guess what? This year they had to backpedal and say, you know what? We need to hire some of those folks back because our customers want to hear from real people. So you need to understand what are your customers' expectations. You can rush to integrate AI to do something that your customers are expecting a human to do. So again, I feel more comfortable. I when I call for customer service and I get an automated robot, I'm like, representative, please.
Yeah,
Representative,
immediately.
right? Immediately, because I want someone that understands me. AI, it may get very, very close to being human-like, but it will never be a human. And so I think again, we need to train our folks to leverage it so again they can do more impactful things for their organization and again it spills over to their life too as well.
Yeah. Um, I think that distrust that you were
hmm
saying. again, it also plays into those fears and the
Oh,
misconceptions
yeah.
about AI in the workplace. And when it comes down to the ethics as well, what are some misconceptions that you commonly hear, and how does LuxLink's business solutions help resolve the I would say the thinking of the customer to kind of help ease those fears and misconceptions?
So first of all, and this recently happened with a client that I took on. Um, Him and I had to be aligned first before I had to understand again what are your goals with AI? What's your strategy? If you don't have that mapped out, we need to sit down and really talk through that.
Mhm.
Fortunately, he did, and so then I stated, hey. Have you shared this with your organization? Because as a really small business, have you shared your thoughts with the organization? A few people knew, right? A few people knew about his phase project and what he wanted to do. And so I told him, I said, okay, I want to meet with your team, you and your team, because it's important for me to help you communicate what it is that we're doing, right? And I made for sure that again, he was not looking to replace them, right? And so we sat down collectively with the team and stated again why I was there, what I was there for, and what overall the company, what his vision was for AI. And so I just backed him up and I said, yep. He's looking to do this. Here's how it can make your life a lot smoother. Had a PowerPoint presentation, but really just getting that alignment because a lot of leaders think that, again, I can just bring AI into my organization is going to take care of everything. No. If you have underlying cultural issues or issues, period, you need to address the problems first before you bring in a tool. Because I also say that, hey, AI is not going to AI is not going to cause problems. It's going to amplify what's already there, right?
Okay.
So if your employees don't trust you, they're definitely not going to trust you with AI because of the narratives that are being spent. AI
Mhm.
is taking jobs. No, leaders are making the decision, right? AI small businesses don't require an AI governance policy or any type of guardrails. Yes, we do. If you're a solopreneur, you still need to understand how you're utilizing AI, how it's showing up in your organization, what happens to the data that you're putting in ChatGPT, what happens when you cancel your subscriptions, right? What on the worst day, right? If ChatGPT is hacked, what's going to happen? How is your information protected? How can you protect your organization? So even as a solopreneur, you need to know how, again, how your business will utilize AI, what you can and can't do, and be able to explain that to others because eventually you're going to want to hire someone. And even
Mhm.
if you build AI, like AI companions, like GPTs or chatbots, they still need to know again what is my job in your organization, so you can create the permissions around that, right?
Mhm.
So uh going back to what you said, what are some of the misconceptions? AI is going to take my job. Small businesses don't require guardrails. I can just add this AI solution into my business and it's just going to do what it's going to do and I'm going to be okay, right? No oversight,
Mhm.
no anything. And there was one more that, um, oh, I've talked to a lot of leaders and they'll say, okay, AI is not being used in my organization, right?
Mhm.
Well, have you told them? Have you told your employees that, hey, we're not using AI? Is there any communication out? No. Okay, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And even now with this thing with shadow AI, right? So again, AI is being used. You don't quite know what it's being used for. It's
Mhm.
built into one of the prime examples is Microsoft. Microsoft has Copilot built into Word, built into Excel, built into
Everything.
PowerPoint, everything. And so if you're not telling your organization how they can use Copilot, even though it's built in to an existing product, that can cause problems because somebody could share proprietary information. You don't know if it's protected or not, right? Do
Mhm.
you? Has anyone said anything? So those are four. There was one more. There was another. I can go on and on and on and on, but those are the major ones. And again, it's just really creating the conversation, right? So again, I asked the leader, let's sit down with your folks. Let's get their sentiments about AI. And I asked each of them, how do you feel about AI? Do you currently use it? What are some of your concerns? Because that's important when failure to have a change management plan, right? So that's
Oh,
another thing.
that's me.
hmm hmm So when people don't have a change management plan, that's getting the responses of the people that the AI is going to impact, right? That's
Hmm.
important. You
Yeah,
have to get the voice of the people so they understand. Again, you're hearing me. I know what you're doing. I understand it, but here are my concerns, right? And so let's work through and put together a plan that
it's
encompasses all of that.
interesting that a lot of people still, a lot of people that I know still they're not using AI.
No.
So it's still a lot of people
hmm
who have not made that transition.
hmm
Coming from, like you said, change management and getting the organization comfortable with using a new tool with people who may not be using it in their everyday lives,
hmm
whether they're, I don't want to say older, but sometimes the older people are more, they push back more against change. What are some of those conversations? Like, have you heard some of them? Does that go back into the misconceptions?
So I recently taught a AI for everyday use through my
Oh,
community
that's
college.
good.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to create a partnership with the local community college that I graduated from. And
Mhm.
so I presented or posed this idea to them that I teach a 4-week course, right? Every Tuesday, students come for an hour, and it's an entry level class to, again, how AI shows up in your life already, how you can utilize it, what you need to be mindful of. And they walked away with, again, a plan of how they're going to integrate one or two tools, right? How they're
Mhm.
going to utilize one or two tools. And I had 10 students. And
Oh, that's amazing.
so I would say half of them were older, retired,
Hmm.
and one gentleman, he was probably like my prize, like my star student. I tell you, this story every time I think about it makes me tear up a little bit. But he he was kind of apprehensive because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know
Hmm.
quite understand it. And I think with a lot of that, it's someone taking the time to help, first of all, create a safe space for your folks to really explore it and make them curious about it. And so what I did in that class was I came in early. If they wanted to talk, I helped them, get whatever AI platform on their phone
Hmm.
and kind of walk them through things before class. And so then in class, they're having a very engaging conversation. And so by the end of the class, the gentleman that I was talking about, he used ChatGPT because he had a 3D like laser printer type deal that had an AI program built into it. And
Okay.
he didn't quite know how to use it. So he used ChatGPT to um, build a prompt to put into the laser printer to create like this lasered artwork. And he brought it, he gave it to me, right? And so, yeah, have it here. And I'm just like, oh my God. When you take the time to invest in your people, this
Yes.
is what you get. And so that's like the overarching thing. When I bake that story, I try to bake that in to every conversation, because going back to what you said, there are people out there that are apprehensive because no one's taken the time to answer their questions in a safe space. And
Hmm.
again, I know the world's moving so fast. And a lot of times, again, you're getting all these people out here that they are AI consultant of the year and they are none of that. And so it's like, only thing that folks need is, again, that space to really ask the questions that are important to them and then try it out. And so with that, that's what I try to do with every course that I teach, with every like B2C offering that I have, which I've cut back on a lot because I'm honing in on a different market, but just really creating a space for people to be inquisitive and to really take their time and learn it. But most of all, get the
What is some of the
support that they
feedback
need.
from the younger generation? Do you find that they're using it?
Oh yeah, they're using it, and it's some of it's like, oh girl, what can you teach me? I'm using it already. And so I said, okay, what are you? Because I had a conversation with a young lady, and she's like, girl,
Uh-huh.
I'm using it. I use it for my emails. I use it for this. And I said, okay. I said, what else do you use it for? And she just kind of looked at me. She's like, I said, do you use it to brainstorm? Have you used it
Mhm.
to build a strategy? Do you know what a mega prompt is? And she's like, a mega prompt. And I was like, it's a
Right.
multi-phase prompt that again gives you more complex answers, right? I listened to a CEO talk about how she built the different personas of her board members in her chat GPT. So when she has an initiative that she wants to bring before the board, she goes into she goes into the specific conversation and she pitches this initiative, right?
Uh-huh.
And she gets the different feedback from the different personas, right? So when she's actually in the meeting, now she's prepared with the information that Chuck or Jill or John or Jake or Jimmy they're going to ask her. She's ready.
What am I doing then?
So that's what I say to the younger generation. Like, you're just scratching the surface, honey. If
Yes.
you are not taking, so again, it's going back to how can I be a better version of myself? How can I be a better human being? It's, you have to challenge yourself and challenge it to the max. And now I tell Chat Keisha, I'm like, Keisha, I know every idea that I give you is great, but I don't want you to agree with me for the sake of agreeing with me. I want you to assume the appropriate role that you need to tell me the good, bad, and ugly about, again, this idea I'm giving you. And she
Mm.
gives me the business sometimes. Sometimes she'll tell me, no, you should not do that. And here's why. And so that's when you start to elevate your usage of AI.
Okay. Listen, I'm still in kindergarten over here. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. She done built a whole nonprofit board or
Girl, when I saw that, I said, "Oh!" And so that's what gave me the idea because I'm a talker, so I talk to my chat GPT all the time, and it's just easier for me because my mind just works a little bit faster than my hands can type. And so I said, "No, no, no, ma'am, do not agree with me just for the sake of agreeing with me. And I also need for you to be the correct role when you correct me. So assume the appropriate role at all times."
Lord. Okay. Listen, I'm today years old and I'll find out that I am still in preschool on this AI.
You're not in preschool. Now the folks in preschool are just kind of perusing ChatGPT. You
That's
might
how I
be,
feel. Cause listen. Lux Link Business Solutions, which she will have her calendar right here in the show notes. Please go on over there so we can get up out of preschool.
oh, so that's what I tell people. I'm like, and I remember, quick story. I was at this event and I met this gentleman and we were sitting at the same table and he was just like, oh yeah, I know about AI. And so I said, yep, I utilize this tool. Yep, I know about that. I know about that. I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm going to find one tool that you don't know about. I said, and so by the fourth tool, I said it, and he said, "Oh no, I don't know about that one." I said, "See, I told you."
Mhm.
So, but it's not about knowing all the tools. It's again, which
You
tool or tools are going to make the most impact in your business. And
about
so,
that? Could
yeah,
you talk
I think
about the
that's
ethics
important.
behind using AI, fact checking, and all
Mhm.
of that stuff, especially in a corporate environment?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So from an ethical standpoint, I've seen businesses say nothing leaves there's some organizations that will say, hey, I want you to use AI for everything, but nothing leaves our organization or is shared before a human reviews it, right? For
Mhm.
accuracy. And so, again, that's a way to encourage the exploration amongst your employees, but with the caveat, hey, you have to review this before you send it to a customer, before you send
Mhm.
it to a colleague. Um, and because again, what we and I've seen it, right? So I'm a army of one right now, right? You hire contractors to do certain things at different times that you need them, but as far as having an employee, I am it. And so there are a lot of times where I would have different AI tools create content for me. I would tell it exactly what I would want and it would create it, but the statistics would be wrong, right?
Mhm.
And so even with that tool, it was, hey, no, you don't have authority to just post it. I need to review it to make sure, yes, you're getting it done faster, but if it's done wrong, then again, that's going to help my brand, hurt, not help my brand reputation out here because again, she's just out here saying stuff and not fact checking. So I think really making sure that you're fact checking the outputs and also you understand how the AI tool receives its inputs. Like what
Mhm.
information was it trained on, right? How is it, what's the QA, the quality assurance behind it? Like, do they do quarterly checks? Do they do monthly checks? How do they make sure that the information, like there's no flawed system within the actual platform, right? So there's some things we have to do on our end before you even invite that into to your business.
Yeah, because I know with ChatGPT, if I you can go into the settings and it'll tell you the
Hmm.
last time that
Yep.
they do like a
A
refresh, a
refresh.
data
Yep.
refresh.
Yep.
Yeah. So like even now it's December, the data that they have, and it's the large language
Language
model.
model.
So and the thing about that, which I think a lot of organizations are concerned about, is because you're basically feeding it
Hmm.
information, but you don't know where it's going because
Hmm.
it's pulling from something on the internet. So
Hmm.
if you're feeding it proprietary information, there's an expectation that it's going somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I tell people like I always like my clients are just students, which are still my clients too, but I'll tell them to go into ChatGPT and in the personalization settings, there is a setting back there that again it says, would you like our your information to train our model, right?
I say no.
Switch it off, right?
Yep.
I now I have the business enterprise version, which is not supposed to train on it anyway. But when you're looking at these large language models, you have to understand that stuff. You have to understand that, right? Where's my information going? Where is it living? If it's not training on it, what's happening to it? And be comfortable with that end result, right? Again, having a plan together of what's the worst thing that can happen and how do you respond? If your employee says, hey, ChatGPT has given me 10 wrong responses, something's wrong, right? How do you shut that down? How do you isolate that particular platform and again get the word out, hey, no one use it because there's something going wrong and what's the reporting procedure? Um I was also talking to someone and we got into a debate. So with ChatGPT, so I use ChatGPT, Gamma, Perplexity, um and
Do you use Grok?
I don't. I don't.
I kind
Have
of like Grok a
Do
little
you?
bit.
Do
I do.
you?
Yeah,
And
it
you?
kind of reminds me of Perplexity, except for it's not as focused on the internet as
Okay.
much as Perplexity. It's like that interface, that user interface for
Okay.
Perplexity is more like World Wide Web to me.
Okay.
Grok is not. It's kind of like that healthy mix between ChatGPT and Perplexity. So
Okay.
y'all get that interface that looks like I'm with ChatGPT, but the data is because it has the links and all of that other stuff that Perplexity does. ChatGPT doesn't have the
Does
link.
not. And so
Yeah.
that's why I use it too. So I'm gonna have to check out Grok because I haven't. Copilot was the other one that I was gonna say.
Okay. Okay.
Just because it's built in and I'm trying to understand more because a lot of enterprise businesses already have Microsoft 365. It's built in there, so they want to know how to leverage what's already there before they go out and buy
Yeah.
additional solutions. Um, but to your point, I use Perplexity to fact check a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like it because of the links, right?
Okay.
Because I can go back and check the sources of information because I'll take something from ChatGPT and put it in Perplexity. And someone said, "Oh, well, you're using one AI model to check another one." I said, "Well, at least this one has the links that I can refer back to and I can justify why or where I got this from. And if it's a
Hmm.
source that I don't particularly know or if it's not a reliable source, I can say, okay, can you give me another source or another statistic that supports this from a source such as, Forbes or whatever the case may
Hmm.
be, right?
Hmm.
So it's just really, you have to do your due diligence, right? The ethical part is you just can't blame ChatGPT and say, oh, it gave me something and I ran with it. No. Did you happen to see where a writer for the paper used ChatGPT because everyone could tell they printed it in the paper and you could see the end prompt in the text that was printed in the paper, like, would you like me to create a PDF, do this, do that? It printed in the paper. No one saw that.
No one caught it
No one caught it, right? And so it's one of those things where, like, wow, y'all are just, here you go, check
unless
check the
they got
box,
rid of their editor
and said, you know what? And so again, here we go.
with
It
that
got
human.
a human touch. So
Yeah.
the ethical part requires you to put someone human in that seat
Hmm.
that is again the quality assurance person, and maybe that responsibility falls on everyone utilizing the tool, but still you have to make sure you're reading through that the responses are okay, that you understand the procedure when they're not, and that you're reporting it immediately when something's wrong. And as you offboard these
Hmm.
solutions, you have an offboarding plan, right? So
Hmm.
again, it shouldn't have permissions to your entire audience, or not your entire audience, your entire organization. It should be set permissions for that too. And when you remove it, it's removed. So again, that's part of the ethical piece, is just really, again, doing what you need to do, your due diligence to make sure that it's being used appropriately, it's protecting your people, your data, your customers, all of the above.
I love it. Where can they find you?
So you can find us. Our handle is LuxLink Business Solutions everywhere. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, but I'm not a TikToker. I just grabbed it. There are some trendy things on there, but not not a whole lot. Also, www.luxlinkbusinesssolutions. That is my website, and I can be reached at Tiffany, Tiffany, at luxlinkbusinesssolutions.com.
Okay. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're also welcome. I am so appreciative of you coming on and sharing your expertise. Of course, this is the Girl Get Up podcast is really about inspiring people to get up, to do the things that they've never thought possible. And part of that is projecting ourselves into the future. And AI is
Oh my
definitely going to
goodness.
be part of our future. In just about every capacity, in
Yeah.
every industry, it's here.
And I think it's just important and I'll say this one thing too,
Mhm.
you know, I do another podcast with another young man, and we talk about AI, and we talk about some of the things that we're seeing in the news. And recently did an episode about um there's an AI platform, and children have had access to it, and
Mm-hmm.
the outcome was not so great, right?
Oh, wow.
And so parents really lean in and understand what's being taught at your
Mm-hmm.
your children's school. How are they interacting with AI, right? How is it being positioned to them? Have conversations with them around it. Create a safe space for them. Even if you don't feel safe, you owe it to your children or your nieces, nephews to understand how they're being exposed to AI because they are. And
Yes.
talking through some of the things that they're seeing because again, just like humans, children are now using AI as companions too. And I just think it's really important because when you said it's showing up in places that you wouldn't think. And again, that's why it's so important to understand where it is, where it could be. And I
Mhm.
think we're going to see more of, again, kids using it. And again, parents, make a plan for your family. How is it going to show up in your household? So
Yeah.
I think that's really important. That's one thing outside of business. I told my family, I said, look, we're going to develop a safe word because if anybody ever calls you and is asking for ransom, you need to request that safe word from them. So it's real. So you're not
Yeah.
getting scammed out of money too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no, it's a lot. It's a
It's a
lot.
thing. It's
It
a
is a
thing.
thing.
So
Yeah. Unfortunately.
you're definitely right.
But like I said, on a lighter note, I asked
Yes.
all of my guests one last question
Okay.
because this is a platform of inspiring people to believe in their infinite possibilities. On the outro, could you give the audience some of your words of wisdom to help them believe in their infinite possibilities?
So, you know what? I will well, that's a good question. That's a good question. And I want to make it deep too, but not too deep. So I would just tell you that if there's a burning desire in you, right? Even if it's something that you're thinking that, you know what, I don't know if I can do this. I would have never dreamed if you would have told me 3 years ago that I would be here. Um, and I'm not a tech person. I'm not a techie girl. And so, but my love for people and my love actually for learning AI and again wanting to be something that's bigger than myself, meaning really
Mhm.
serve people allowed me to step into this. And so if you have that burning desire within, or if you, it's just, again, just a far, you feel like it's a far-fetched dream, continue to believe. Continue
Mhm.
to, again, even if it's one small step every day, keep going because your breakthrough, and I'm a testament to this. Your breakthrough is right on the other side of that. There have been so many things that I've been able to do this year. And I tell people this has been the best year and yet the worst year of my life, right? I stepped into my business, but I also lost my father, right?
Oh,
And so I
sorry.
didn't quite know how to navigate all of this. And when I tell you, again, I know I mentioned God a lot. Um, God has helped me because I've put my faith in Him, but I've just actioned the plan. So
Mhm.
believe in yourself, believe that you have everything inside of you to do exactly what you're called to do, and just execute. Consistency, 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 and it will get you to the next level.
Thank you for sharing that, Tiffany. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here too.
You're most welcome. Thank you for saying yes.
Look, I'm like, girl, yes, I need to be on the get up and come on, girl. This is
Hey,
my
let's get it moving.
girl, get up. I was like, okay, this is my tribe. I have arrived.
So, with that, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. You ain't going, I'm going to send you off the right way, but everyone else, we will see you next episode. Take care, everyone.